And just like that, season 2024 is over for the Pies. And what a way to go out with the Lightning stopping the game intermittently. And I mean, honestly, truthfully, the game is still on with 8 minutes to go, but I figured it's a dead rubber as it gets. Collingwood 13-12, 90 to 7-7, 49. Couldn't quite get that 100-point margin that has eluded us in the end. And finals is a no-go. We end up getting a total of 13 wins if we include the draws, and in most years that gets you to the finals, but not in this competitive year. And I think what we've come to learn this year and in recent times, those years where teams get 150%, 160% percentage, which we haven't seen since 2016 Sydney, and ironically they lose against a team that had 110% percentage, that is dead and gone, I think. And I think that will be a true anomaly. I don't think there will be runaway teams anymore. And it's just going to make it even more coveted, that premiership in the modern era. Look at the NBA. The last 6 years have all been different champions. So it's omnipresent or ubiquitous in most sports these days, outside of leagues that don't have much of a salary cap. I mean, I'm sure the EPL have some sort of salary cap, but it's at the upper limit. Have a sip of my soda water. That's kept me company over the course of the year. So what did we get out of the game? Nick Dacos, Brownlow, Darcy Cameron, is he an All-Australian lock? I'm thinking of doing a video and covering that extensively over the next coming days, so keep an eye out for that. And of course, after this video, we'll be doing a live stream for the post game. So I'm keen to see you guys there. And if you guys are watching it after the fact, hi, we're done with the season's over. Hope you enjoyed the post game show, and we'll be back for more next year. But we saw Collingwood in the first half in particular just move the ball around like it was match simulation. And clearly, at this point in time, while the game is still on, one team came out to play and one team came out like it was a dead rubber game. And fortunately and promisingly, Collingwood were the side who came in trying to finish on a positive note. If we look at our last 5 games, Brisbane, Carlton, Sydney, obviously Melbourne, those games we've competed and been the better side in all of them. So it's just a shame that Geelong, Gold Coast, Essendon, Hawthorn, those games really killed us. And the injuries, of course, is going to be one of the stories of the season to take away from here, to remember or remind us that what if we didn't have these injuries? Obviously, there's discussions for hunger, selection issues and whatnot, but I think ultimately the overarching theme will be the injury cloud that killed us. Bo McCreary, Jamie Elliott, Mason Cox, Brody Myercheck, McStay, Pendlebury, DeGoey, and the list goes on. But it's been good to see Ed Allen show something this game. He had 6 touches in the first 5 minutes. Really good within the confines of the contest, good with his hands. Maybe a little bit of work to do with his kicking efficiency, but that will come. But he looked like an AFL player tonight. And Finlay Macrae, while he was listed as a sub, he's come on and had an impact as well himself. And Joe Richards has shown his worth. So whether he's in the black and white or the black and white of South Australia is yet to be seen, but he's definitely let both parties know that he's worth his weight as an AFL player. Unfortunately, Darcy Moore goes out with a concussion with that hit to Cozzy, and that will be a contentious one because there's the rule that came in where you shouldn't be sliding below the knees, which is what Darcy Moore did, and Cozzy reacts in the short span of a millisecond and elects to bump and takes Darcy Moore out for the rest of the game. So that will definitely be a conversation going into the bye week of the finals, which will probably see Cozzy miss the start of next year. I'm looking at Patrick Lipinski as he's just kicked a goal. I thought he's bounced back in the last couple of weeks really well, but his fumbliness has become noticeable at times throughout the year. So I'd like to see Paddy. I think that's just an element of composure that it comes down to, but that's one thing he'll probably look to build on going into next year. Can you train that? I don't know. It's probably a confidence thing. Am I in focus? Please don't make me do this whole video again. That's been a hard lesson this year, is recording and then you get to the end of the video and your mic is not working or you're out of focus, and I'm just making sure again that we're here, guys. So some harsh learnings for me as well as for Collingwood on the field. What else did we take or have we taken from this game? We said Darcy Cameron's taken up to Gawn. I thought Darcy Cameron's first quarter was amazing. He's kicked 2 goals as it stands and really battled with Gawn. Josh Dacos off the half back line has been a godsend and would love for him to stay there. We saw Jack Crisp move to the wing, and that's just essentially allowed Ed Allen to really have the keys to the engine room tonight, which was good to see. Fly sort of make way for the youngsters. At the expense of Jack Crisp, that's okay. Isaac Quaynor was then subsequently forced to return to defence, which is, I guess, you got to pick one of your poisons, and if one of them is the lesser poison, being Isaac Quaynor returning to a role where he was once listed in the All-Australian Final 40, then so be it. If it means we get to see more from Ed Allen in the middle, which we did. And Pendles, his kicking going inside 50 is the very reason why he's still relevant at AFL level, very relevant, and his work inside the contest. And we've built speed around the half back line and half forward line to help us around the stoppages. And I think Bo McCreary plays a massive role in that, and I'll harp on that so you guys remember that going into next year. You can have a slow midfield at the middle if you have these players steamrolling into the midfield as soon as the ball is bounced and around the grounds and the stoppages, you can compensate for that. I think Tom Mitchell has a lot to show next year. I think he'll have a chip on his shoulder being injured that hurts him. He's a proud player, proud Brownlow medalist, premiership player who's a final series type player. So I think we still get a little bit more from him as Ed Allen kicks his first goal at AFL level. And then Will Parker has shown something today, kicked a nice goal, running into goal. Bobby Hill, couple goals, couple goal assist magician. He's definitely built on last year by at least, I would say, 20% in the grand scheme of things. So it's been really good to see Bobby build on that and really lock his position in as a small forward. And you see with the Collingwood forward line, we're operating with one key tall at times throughout the game. Darcy Cameron or Mason Cox, and everyone else is small. We know Jamie Elliott, for the entirety of his career, plays like this tall, pseudo-tall forward because he's so good at taking marks overhead. Lachie Schultz, he's had a difficult game as it stands. Really just unpolished. And he has that game of vindication last week, but we said, Caleb and I, we said, that's one game. We need to see a body of games from Lachie Schultz where he strings it together, which he hasn't been able to do this year. Does that mean we kick the bucket and crack the shits? No, not necessarily. We can't get rid of him. We've invested so much into him. There is such thing as a sunk cost fallacy where you're reluctant to let someone go because you've invested so much in him. But I think that conversation can be held until the end of next year. We'll know more. But ultimately, if Joe Richards does leave, it's because we're going to play Lachie Schultz over him, unfortunately. At this point, you can't have the team we have now for more than... Thanks for the tea. English breakfast tea coming in clutch. Ooh, and that's really hot, so I'm not going to have that now. But, yeah, you can't have Joe Richards, Bo McCreary, Bobby Hill... You can't have Joe Richards, Bobby Hill, Billy Elliott, Bo McCreary, and everyone else in that forward line. It's too small. As good as it operates, I think we're best when we have two key tools in McStay and Myercheck, and then Mason Cox and Darcy Cameron rolling through there as well. So that's what it will look like next year if we're healthy. So that's the big if. Hopefully we can rebound next year because we've looked good for the most part of the year. We just had a 4 or 5 game slump when it mattered, and we weren't there. Hey, and we're beating a side. Yes, the D's are undermanned, but they went and pumped Gold Coast at Gold Coast home ground, which has been a fortress last week. So there is some, I guess, weight in this game. Although Melbourne have come out like it's a training simulation, that's okay. It just shows Collingwood's mentality. It's that kill mentality. Play till the end. Show the fans. Like, they've come out. We're sticking around for a 60-minute quarter because the boys have shown us that they cared and they wanted to see the season out, and therefore the fans are going to stick around. So Yeah, who we've touched on most people there. Who else have I got in conversation? But I think it's clear as well that going into the off season, what we need more than anything is a second key tall defender, whether that's Mark Keane. Left field could be Harrison Petty, where he swings to the back line. I don't know if he leaves Melbourne for another Victorian club. But outside of that, I mean, we're not going to get Tom Barrass. It seems like he's headed for Hawthorn. Josh Battle as well has interest from Hawthorn. And right now, you could argue Hawthorn have more, or they do have more draft stocks to move within the trade period. So that will certainly work in their favour. I think at the half, tonight we had 11 marks inside 50. And I don't think many of them were contested marks. So in wet weather footy, when you move the ball well, the uncontested footy, and move it at ease and get those kicks out the back, that's how you win a game of wet weather footy. And Hawthorn did that very well against us as well, mind you, at the G. So we took a leaf out of their book. And then still side bottom in the middle, revivified. Yes, I called for him to potentially retire at the end of this season, but the difference was back then was he was struggling on the wing and off the half back line. But in the middle, he's doing it all. He's stopped Lockie Neal, he's stopped Irul Goulden, and then tonight, Jack Viney, his direct opposition has 11 touches, and he had a 30-35 disposal game last week against one of the best midfielders in the league, being Gold Coast, Matt Rao, Noah Anderson and co. So still a bit more life in still side bottom, and it seems like Collingwood are electing to go a bit older again next year, with side bottom staying Jeremy Howe, hopefully Scott Pendlebury, Mason Cox, Jamie Elliott, Brody Myercheck. They're all still going to be there. So, and they've shown that they deserve another year, despite a losing year. Whereas this year in past times will get you into the finals, but it doesn't. So I think that's all I've got for you guys for now. I'm going to edit this and get ready for the post-game show. We'll see you soon, guys. Thanks for all your support this year, and can't wait for the off-season content. Go Pies.